Our top story for tonight, more news about Stefon Diggs, the fallout of the trade from Buffalo to the Houston Texans. And joining me tonight, Mike Lindberg, a.k.a. Grindberg, a.k.a. FF Canuck 99 on the X Machine, joining me for the Diggs talk, the fallout, and a few other things related to the Chiefs, and a few other news items that you may have missed this week. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to it all week since you asked me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be joined forces with Mike here in Player Profiler. Today, Mike will be taking over one of the days for Player Profiler today, coming up very shortly. And I'm excited to be having him join the rotation here on the Player Profiler News channel. All of that and more right after this. All right, Grindberg, we just had the big news, like the big shakeup happened. Stefon Diggs gets traded from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans. And there was a lot of rumblings this offseason that maybe Diggs would not return, that he was seemingly a little disgruntled. He had always been like slow burn diva, never gone full Antonio Brown, never gone like full Odo Beckham, but had definitely flashed a few things on social media that express his opinions about things, which, you know, wide receivers are allowed to do. But now the Buffalo Bills are paying $30 million to not have Diggs play in 2024. What is your initial reaction to the Diggs trade?
Oh man, my initial reaction was CJ Stroud to the moon. Like, this guy is gonna be reaping the benefits there. The Houston Texans are going all in. It looks they're and beyond here. Like, I mean, they're taking advantage of that rookie contract. They're putting weapons around the young quarterback, and I think that team is, destined to make some splash this year for sure. That was my initial reaction, was like, oh my God, CJ Stroud is going to be, to the moon here.
Yeah, just within the last day, Nico Collins drops from 15.5 to 17. Just in one day, 1.5. Obviously, Nico Collins still crushing it in terms of what he did last year. He was able to get yards after the catch, great PFF receiving, great yards per route run. We're all near the top and league leaders. He's currently the wide receiver 9, ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., but behind Garrett Wilson. But then we have to scroll all the way down to Tank Dell at wide receiver 22. Dell at 31 overall. I expect him to fall. I expect Nico Collins to fall. And I expect Stefon Diggs to fall as well. We did see Diggs last year struggle from week 9 on pretty much. He did not play well. And there could be a few reasons, Grindberg. Do you think that Diggs is washed, or was it just a scheme change and there's opportunity for bounce back in 2024?
Well, yeah, I think the Bills, with the change of offensive coordinator halfway through the year, there made a big difference. They went to a more run centric, grinding down James Cook. That was a big move for them, and I think this is going to be a good move for him as well. But as far as Diggs goes, I don't think he's washed. He's had 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. With the offensive change, I think that was a big thing. They started spreading the ball around more. I don't think they wanted to rely on one target, and they have to replace them now. So that's going to, leave a lot of void in that offense. A lot of targets are going to be up for grabs, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be looking at those targets as well. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, right now it seems like there is a massive void of who's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo. Certainly Curtis Samuel has played an admirable role as a wide receiver 2/3 on Carolina, on Washington. Last year, Curtis Samuel was player 115 in terms of best ball value rating. Right now, his ADP has been skyrocketing. As of last night, it was 123. but Samuel now up to 117. And I expect that he will continue to rise significantly in the ADP streets. And I don't mind that when you're tied to the quarterback one over the last couple of years and Josh Allen. Now, how much of an impact do you think losing Stefon Diggs is going to have on the fantasy upside of a Josh Allen?
Well, Josh Allen's obviously going to take a hit here. I mean, he's losing his best weapon. But if you look at, if you break it down, in the last 10 games of the year, Josh Allen still kept up his numbers. He was still quarterback one, even after the offensive coordinator change. He's seen different schemes in the past. He has that rushing upside. He has those touchdowns. I think he scored 15 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, this year, which was second in the league. All that's still going to be there for him, I'm pretty sure. And you know what? They're going to go out and they're not going to leave this guy hanging. He is, an elite quarterback still. He may drop a little bit in value, a spot here or there, but I mean, if I'm a Josh Allen owner, I am definitely firm holding on him. Wait and see. They have the 28th pick overall in the draft here, and that wide receiver class is stacked. And they have an opportunity to maybe move up even a little bit more if they see a guy that is going to fit their scheme well. I got a question for you there. We're like, out of those rookies, who would you love to see there, in Buffalo with those rookie wide receivers?
I would like to see Buffalo move up, frankly, to be able to access one of the top three, because I'm not sure if the Brian Thomas, the AD Mitchell, like maybe they're going to be able to command the targets that Diggs would, but if they draft like a Xavier Worthy or someone like that, I don't think that that's going to be a target commander or a target earner, and that's why that would, I think, throw a little bit of the offense into chaos. I don't think that's the type of player that they want to be targeting. They want a go-to guy and someone who's going to be under contract for a while, who they're not going to have to pay a lot, but who is going to step right on in and earn wide receiver one on a team targets, because that's how their team is set up. Khalil Shakir is not going to do it. Curtis Samuel is not going to do it. I don't think Dalton Kincaid, as much as we like Dalton Kincaid, right? Last year, 73 receptions, 670 receiving yards. Yes, only two touchdowns, but he's definitely, those tight ends, they'll get their touchdowns. This is a player that I think will ascend, like Dalton Kincaid will ascend, but I think the best move for the Bills is to try to access one of those top three, whether it's Neighbors, Harrison Jr., or Odunze.
Yeah, I agree. And if they can get it, like, I think a Dunze would fit right in there really nice. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to move up high enough to get Neighbors. I would love to see it, but it'd be great. I think a Dunze would be a really, really good fit. Very athletic. He's a guy that in any other class would be the number one guy. I mean, last year he would be the number one guy. I would be picking him over JSN. Dunze is looking pretty good. And if the Bills can move up, maybe that's their plan, so we'll have to see what happens, because they really need to bring somebody in there. I don't think they can cut it with just Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and James Cook in the backfield. I mean, Kincaid, like you'd mentioned, is going to, reap some benefits there, but I don't think they're built. He's not ready to take on that Travis Kelce role yet.
Not quite, but we have to make decisions in our drafting. Right now, Dalton Kincaid is being drafted in round 6, 64th overall, one spot behind tight end Kyle Pitts. Both have experienced change in their team this year. Kyle Pitts at pick 64 or Dalton Kincaid at pick 64.4. Who would you pick in a vacuum?
Jeez, that's a loaded question, Bradley. You're putting me right on the spot. And I, at this stage, I've had Kyle Pitts on my dynasty roster. I've had him on redraft, and he's hurt me a lot. But when I'm on his rookie season, had over 1,000 yards. He just had some, touchdown regression there. He only had 2 touchdowns that first season. I see a big season here for Kyle Pitts. I like Kirk Cousins there. I don't think it elevates Kirk Cousins' value, but Kirk Cousins there elevates everybody around him. I see them being a top 10 offense this year. and I really like the situation there. If you have to tell me right now, I'm going to go with Pitts just based off what I see in that offense, and they've got a good foundation. I like the coaching change there as well. They're a more offensive minded coaching change in Atlanta, so maybe I'm crazy, but I'm going to roll the dice for the third time on Kyle Pitts, and I'm going to take him over Dalton Kincaid right now.
All right, y'all heard it here on Player Profiler today with Bradley Stoller featuring guest Mike Lindberg. Still, Kyle Pitts over Dalton Kincaid. We're gonna get into a few more news items, but we're gonna also talk about. Well, we're gonna talk about Rashee Rice. We're gonna talk about Carson Wentz. We're talking about Raheem Mostert. All of that after this Dynasty Deluxe promo brought to you by the Podfather.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
That's right. Get your Dynasty Dominator today. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Woo! It is a good deal. You can't go wrong. You know that rookie guide is amazing. They got some really awesome people ranking those rookies. And I know quite a few of them, and they're top-notch analysts. So, if you don't have it yet, you got to get on it.
Well, let's unveil a little bit for everybody. Mike Lindberg joining us as a guest tonight on Player Profiler today, but very soon going to host his own part of the rotation of Player Profiler today. It's going to be great having Mike take on one of those days, giving you the updates. Mike has also been crushing it in terms of lately the Chiefs have been in the headlines. And some of them for good reason and some of them for not so good reason. We're going to get into Rashee Rice and talk about some updates that happened today. Mike is the perfect person to be giving us these updates, given his role as, of course, all of the Chiefs things you can see in the background, but also his work in cultivating and working on the news behind the scenes, but also getting the blurbs out and the videos out that you see on the Player Profiler News YouTube channel. Mike, what is the update today about Rashee Rice?
Well, his attorney made a statement saying that he was indeed driving the Lamborghini. So that's going to add some complications now to this story. Now that they've got him identified as a driver, now they're going to have to figure out the extent of some of these injuries. I've heard rumblings of there's, rumors of 1 to 4 potential injuries. Some people have been hospitalized, but that's all speculation now. So nothing has been confirmed. And I don't even think the lawyers on both sides have communicated much yet, as far as what I've seen out of Drew Davenport's Twitter account today. And he updates very, very frequently on that. So, I don't think there's a whole lot of communication between the two sides yet. So it's an evolving case, and they don't from what I gather, he wasn't under the influence and everything, so that is a huge factor that might be good for him. And in the past, from what I've researched and what I've heard, these types of situations will probably end with a tap on the finger. I don't think the NFL is going to come down too hard unless these injuries appeared to be very serious, or if there was any sort of under the influence, and they would have had to have pretty much caught him out on the scene of the crime for that to happen. So, I would not be getting rid of any of my Rashee Rice shares. At most, he might see a 6-game suspension at the most. Don't be panicking. Get in there, hold him, make some offers out for him because he's still that elite asset that people are come to accustomed to. And with the Marquise Brown addition there, we all know that that's going to open up the field quite a bit for these Chiefs. And that's only going to be better for Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce in the future for the year. So, it's still an evolving situation. And I still think there could be, some, repercussions from the league, but they're going to have to, find and get some more evidence on him before any of that can come to light. But at least we know he was the driver, and there's more information there about that.
Yeah. Last year, among all wide receivers, Rashee Rice was wide receiver 12 in terms of PFF receiving grade, and that's as a rookie. And he continued to crush throughout the season, even with increased snaps. So sometimes we'll see like players who short efficiencies, will peter out a little bit now that they get a larger sample. Giving Rashee Rice near the end of the season, 39 pass snaps, 42, 44, 30 to end, the regular season was certainly, a sign of this is a blossoming young wide receiver. But then these offseason issues, and then Mike, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but there had been some rumblings or people on the Twitter sphere who had been saying that there were character concerns for Rashee Rice before the draft, and why some people were pausing on that. I haven't found anything concrete to it. I don't know if you have either in your research, or if it's just been a bunch of Twitter mumbo jumbo.
Well, I think at this stage, those kind of things come to light a little bit more when those character situations come about, right? So
Yes.
people are digging a little bit deeper into the situation. Maybe an incident in the past that might not have been super elevated is now more coming to light, and I think anybody can pick up any dirt on any player if they really wanted to. So, it could have just been a bad relationship, something like that in the past. So I'm not going to weigh too much into it. If these situations continue to arise, from what it looked like, he was coming from a party, like some sort of family thing. I think he just made a really bad decision. And, some of these guys are put in that position, right? They got, all this new fame. They don't know what to do with it. And they're technically not coached very well to be able to learn how to deal with those situations. Right. And some of these guys make those wrong decisions, and that's exactly what happened. So hopefully for this young guy, he didn't make a decision that is really going to hurt his future too bad.
Yeah, his future is bright if it's on the NFL field. The 5 of the last 6 regular season games, at least 9 targets for Rashee Rice. Yeah. I think for any fantasy manager in the dynasty streets, you still want to be targeting and getting Rashee Rice on your fantasy teams. I don't think that this is something that is a long-term issue for right now. Grindberg, I think you're in agreement there. But then, we also are keeping our eyebrows raised a little bit. If he's making these decisions without the influence, right? What else is going on? Like they're
totally
right. There are some questions obviously raised by scenarios or situations like this. So Rashee Rice, is a buy low candidate. I don't know how many people are going to be selling Rashee Rice in your dynasty leagues, but if there's anyone interested in Hollywood Brown, I think that's actually the sell high candidate if people are a little worried. What do you think, Grindberg?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, his skyrocketed value in the last month there. He was almost dead to waste there, Marquise Brown, right? And now this is a huge rejuvenation of his career. It's a 1-year deal that's going to get him, back to notoriety, hopefully. And if he could stay healthy, he's going to open up the field. He's not going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs. Like he's going to be a complimentary piece. He's going to be able to catch the ball downfield. And he's going to be good in the best ball format because he's going to have those boom games where he's going to, catch a pass for 60 yards and take it to the house and get you like a 25, 30 point best ball game. And he probably will be a reliable viable guy that you can have in your fantasy lineups. Wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside some weeks, and wide receiver 3 downside some weeks as well, because we all know how the Chiefs like to, especially last year, move the ball around quite a bit. They had to find the right wide receiver, and now with Rashee Rice there, he started commanding those targets, and I think it's going to spread around a little bit more now as well.
Yeah, the spreading around is something that we noticed a lot more with Kelsey taking a back seat during the regular season. I think that's going to continue, and we will look for Rashee Rice. We will look for Hollywood Brown, and this does not preclude the Kansas City Chiefs from taking a wide receiver even in day 2 yet again. That's something that they missed. They whiffed on Sky Moore. MVS obviously gone. Justin Watson has been a nice, piece for here and there, but there's definitely room for another player to take the next, be added to the roster and maybe push out Sky Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna find somebody. They may even look. I mean, depending on what the draft capital looks like, they're looking at probably cornerback. They might be looking at O-line with their 32 second overall pick. They're going to go on value, and they may even trade back because they may not see a first round talent there, and they may decide to look at that in the future. So like their draft capital, they may decide to build on that, because if you think about it, the Chiefs aren't going to foreseeable have a high end first round pick for the foreseeable future, because honestly, like with the moves they made, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, they're going to be a competing team for the next 5 to 10 years. So if they can increase their draft capital in the future, I think they may do that. If they don't see a first round talent that they can nab with their 32 pick, if they can move up or move down, because there is quite a few wide receivers in the second round that could probably fit a scheme in a year or two and fit right in there. So I think you're hitting the head right there with them looking at somebody in the round 2 and then maybe moving off their first round pick, depending.
All right, we will keep it with the Chiefs, but change positions here, Mike. Carson Wentz signs as the backup to Patrick Mahomes, the former first overall pick, former Philadelphia Eagle, Ram, Washington Commander, Indianapolis Colt, you name it. If you remember last offseason, he was wearing like 5 different uniforms to try to show off for teams. Yeah. He played admirably when stepping in for Matthew Stafford for a game last year. I still think that he has high level backup quarterback talent and can step in and spot start here and there. I also think that this was a good move because the Chiefs need someone who can step up if something were to happen to Patrick Mahomes. And what we've seen over the last however many years is over the last 3 years, since the games have increased to 17, that quarterback injuries have skyrocketed. And for teams to be competitive every year, if you're going to lose your starting quarterback, you need someone to step up. And I think this was savvy. What is your take on this as a Chiefs reporter?
I love this move for the Chiefs. I think it's a really savvy move. I mean, Carson Wentz is a big body guy. He can get those short yardage plays if they need to put him in the game. And he's been a proven winner in the past. I think a lot of his situation had to do with bad coaching in his career and be put in some sticky situations. And with the year to work behind Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, he could get into some games too. Like say if Mahomes gets injured, twist an ankle or something like that, he might miss a game or two. I think Carson Wentz can go in there and give the Chiefs at least a shot to compete. If he misses up to 6 games, I think they could still be 500 under, with the team they've built. That defense has been playing really, really well. And they're not relying on one player anymore on offense. So I think that, Carson Wentz could be a usable guy. And it's a great move for him too. He's still at an age where he could still, rebound his career. He's a former first round pick, like you mentioned. I think his draft year was 2016. So, that's still got, 5-6 years left of proper quarterback, age. So he's a guy that could definitely resurge his career if the right bounces happen here. So I think it's a great move for both sides.
Yeah, and also from a long-term perspective, this could be reimagining of Carson Wentz. He could, redefine his career. This could be something, I think, a very interesting, speculative, deep dynasty superflex ad. You should be adding him in your superflex dynasty leagues regardless, given his role. But I think there's future 2025 plus potential for a Carson Wentz rebrand. All right, Mike, you ready for the last topic of the night?
Sure, let's do it.
Mostert gets a 2-year extension for the Miami Dolphins, who did not sign anyone in free agency. It's just Devon Achane and Salvon Ahmed and a few other players. Jeff Wilson still on the team. But Mostert crushed last year, and in a best ball lens, actually outplayed Devon Achane. Yes, Achane had like his 50-point game, but Mostert was really consistent. He was able to handle a lot of the touches, but he's going to be, 32 years old? He'll be 34 years old by the end of the contract. I think the Dolphins can draft a running back, but I think this signals that maybe running back is not as strong of a priority for them entering the draft season, especially given that they didn't sign anyone.
And given how effective they were last year running the ball, like what did Mostert finish? He was a top 10 running back, and he came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, he didn't come out of nowhere, but like no one would have pegged him to be, winning weeks for people, and that's exactly what he did. And he's going to be that short yardage, first down kind of back, and HN when healthy, and if he could stay healthy, that's a dynamic duo. And I think they got the right situation there. They could put anybody really in that bruiser role, and those guys are going to get abused. So, and Mostert fits the scheme. He played with them last year. He had a great season. I think it's a good move for both sides. And Mostert's going to have another good year, I think.
What's wild, Mike, is that the ADP in Underdog Fantasy is Raheem Mostert back-to-back with Nick Chubb. It doesn't make sense to me. Like it's just wild that you would get a player who was not even top 10. He was a top 5 last year in terms of best ball value rating. Raheem Mostert, running back 25 right now. I mean, all of the risk factors, I think, have been built into that ADP, and there's nothing but gravy upside at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially when they invest in him, right? I mean, he's getting a little bit of a contract there. And they've already, shown us what they're going to do with Devon Achane. So, there's we know his role, we know what to expect. And as long as the Dolphins are a competitive team and they're still scoring a lot of points, then wheels up. And, the Bills took a step back. So they're one of the top teams in the AFC right now, and they just can't finish a season. They have a hard time finishing the last half of the season. But if you look at the first half of the last 2 years, the Dolphins are just they're lights out. And I think that you can take that Mostert train and take it until he can get banged up or he loses gas near the end of the year. So similar situation, I think, as last year. I think the Dolphins are going to come out of the gate flying again.
Yeah, and they haven't made any real shifts in their offense, so it's going to remain status quo. And Tua, they're going to protect Tua. Tua doesn't rush at all, so it's just going to be the running backs at the goal line, at short yardage. Whenever there's a running situation, they are not going to dial up Tua to make any sort of move to preserve him long term. We'll see if Tua gets an extension or not. There's nothing firm at this point, but we are monitoring that situation in Miami. Make sure you guys are following Mike on the X Machine at FF Canuck 99. He's been an absolute stud in the Player Profiler News Hub. Also helping me out a lot behind the scenes. I don't know if y'all know how much work goes behind the scenes to get out playerprofiler.com/news. That news feed, the videos that Mike and the rest of the team are putting out have been phenomenal. And I'm grateful for Mike saying yes to being able to take on one of the mantles for Player Profiler today here on Player Profiler News. Any last words, Mike?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully I do the channel justice. I mean, this has been such an humbling experience for me, and hopefully the viewers are getting exactly what they're subscribing us for, because that's exactly what we want to do, is provide high-end content for you to win your championships. And hopefully we're doing that and making you some money on the side as well. So humbled. Thanks, Bradley, for the opportunity, and thanks, Player Profiler, for investing in me and putting your thoughts in me. And I'm excited to be here.
All right, on behalf of Mike, I'm Bradley. Till next time, good luck, Player Profiler News peeps.
See you later.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.